Why now? Why jump back into a fishbowl that's even bigger than the one you left?
Well, I mean, either way, my life has been a fishbowl no matter what. You know, on the court, off the court. That's just something that I've kind of created for myself and certainly of my family. But I think being that I'm older, I know how to deal with that, especially for my family's sake. You know, when I'm with my family, that's my private life. That's certainly, you know, my time with them. I think one thing I kind of totally forgot, you know, once I retired 18 months ago, was my love for the game of basketball. As much as I tried to stay away from the game, I mean, the more times that I played, the more times that my appetite got wet. So, you know, once the baseball situation kind of diffused a little bit, I mean, it was good for me. I think it really gave me a chance to get my mind away from the game of basketball and more or less go back to the basics of, you know, participating, you know, from a, not from a standard of, you know, high standards that I've set for myself, but down where I had to work to get what I got.
You're coming home tonight, but this arena isn't really home. I mean, your home is across the street.
Well, the way that I see it is it's the neighborhood. It's the same neighborhood, but it's a different house. And it's a lot of resemblance to my new home or to the old home. But I guess, you know, things have changed, and it's pretty modern, and certainly you have to make it your home, and you have to bring some of the pieces from the old place to here just to make it your new home. So I'd rather have the old stadium, but you know, in terms of modifications, I have to deal with this. And you know, for the time being, this is going to be my home until I get comfortable.
So what's your future? How long are you here for?
Well, I mean, I got to finish out my contract, and you know, that's a couple of years, I think. And from that point on, I mean, I got to evaluate what my interests are at that particular time. And I don't want to look so far in the future that, you know, I'm pressed to live out a certain schedule. My life has always been, and my motto has always been, to live it day by day, you know, and not try to think so far in advance that you kind of forget about the present. You know, I want to live for the present at this particular time, and the present is that I'm playing for the Bulls now, and I look forward to finishing out my contract. Now, what happens from that point on, you know, certainly is whatever I feel at that moment.
They couldn't restructure your contract, Scottie Pippen's contract, or anybody else's contract. Were there any stipulations that Scottie and Phil Jackson and you would be together through the duration?
There was a question, certainly. You know, I wanted to know what the status of these gentlemen were. I mean, I wasn't demanding not one thing. I've never demanded since I've been here, and I wasn't going to start at that particular time. Even so, you know, I could have easily, but I've never operated from that angle, you know. And yeah, I asked about Phil, I asked about BJ, I asked about Pippen, Tony, you know, just to see where I stood, you know, and that had a lot to do with my decision making. But, you know, I didn't demand these guys to get new contracts or you know, whatever, you know, what all the speculations were. But, you know, in terms of myself, I didn't ask for no extra money. I knew I couldn't because of the moratorium, and I came back under my own contract.
This team, do you think it can win a fourth title as it's constituted?
Certainly. I wouldn't be here if I didn't.
Michael, the team you left in Phoenix and the team you came back to here in March this year, two different teams.
I don't know. I think the next 14 games is going to be very crucial in terms of how we can, you know, create our own identity. You know, with that team that won 3 championships, we had our identity, and you know, everyone knew their respective roles. Now, with this team, you're trying to find, you know, the niches where everybody can fit into where it's a complete puzzle. You know, how big my piece is going to be, I don't know. You know, in the last, you know, my last 3 years with the Bulls, you know, it was a big piece, but yet it fitted perfectly, and everything dictated in terms of how the other guys expanded their pieces. I mean, I don't think it should change. I think that, you know, my productivity is going to rely upon what these guys are able to do and how well they can expand their games.
Scottie Pippen emerged as a star in his own right last year when you were playing baseball. Have your role and his role changed?
Oh, certainly. Certainly. I think he has a better understanding in terms of the expectations that a player of his caliber, and certainly of my caliber, have to live up to day in and day out. I think that's one thing that really has made him that much better as a player. Is the 18 months that I was away, he had to deal with some of those similarities that I had to deal with, you know, when I was here. So that I think mentally he becomes a little bit more stronger.
Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Tony Kukoc are 3 great players with a ball in their hands, but there's only one ball out there. Is it hard for you guys to play at the same time?
Pippen and I had that understanding, my last 3 years when we won the 3 championships. So I think it's capable. We're capable of understanding that, and I think Tony's going to have to implement that, and learn how to do that amongst the 3 of us. It gives us a lot of versatility as a team, which is very strong in this game today. The versatility, the different matchups that you have to deal with. So I think the more we play with each other, we can understand certain things that make players comfortable and make them more productive. So 3 threats, that's a great weapon to have, especially going into the playoff. And it's a great weapon when you know what your other players are capable of doing. And I think that's one thing that I'm trying to find out about Tony. I think he knows about me, but he's yet to see it, is the understanding of how to complete a game and what he can rely upon.
So what do Michael's peers think of his return? They couldn't stop